In the magnificent plains of Los Angeles, on January 15, 1947, around 10 in the morning, an enigmatical incident occurred. A woman discovered something in a wasteland that at first glance appeared to be an actual person that had been cut in half while out for a stroll with her 3-year-old daughter on the west side of South Norton. She was shocked and as she drew nearer and realized that it was a young woman's death. Welcome to my channel, Historical Studies. Before diving into the mysteries of history, there is a small reminder. If you are really interested in this kind of information, do not hesitate to subscribe to my channel and hit on the bell icon if you don't want to miss out on our new videos. The murder had a significant social influence, largely due to its brutality, which served as an inspiration for numerous works and movies. The case of Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia, is currently one of the most infamous and horrifying unsolved mysteries in Hollywood history. Elizabeth Short, who was born in Boston, Massachusetts, in 1924, along with her mom and 4 sisters, grew up in Medford. Her father left them when she was 6 years old due to financial difficulty. Strangely, he pretended to commit suicide to himself before leaving his car by a bridge. Her mother raised her 5 daughters alone, believing he had passed away. When the father suddenly reappeared a few years later, Elizabeth Short was 18 years old. Then she moved home with her father to live in California. Hollywood dreams. She wanted to be a famous movie actress, but there was no credible information regarding the films or projects she had worked on. She moved out on her own in 1943 without the help of her father. To help with the bills, she took a few part-time jobs as a server, a cashier, and a model. Those who knew her characterized her as a beautiful doll with light-colored eyes and black hair who was stunning and incredibly amiable. Elizabeth Short spent most of the 6 months before her death in Los Angeles, moving around and sleeping in different hotels, apartments, boarding houses, and even private homes. She met Army Air Force member Matthew M. Gordon Jr. in Florida, and he proposed to her while he was in India. She said yes. However, he passed away in a car accident in 1945 shortly after, preventing him from coming back to the United States. She returns from a vacation to San Diego on January 9, 1947, with her new business partner, 25-year-old Robert Red Manley. He assists her in arranging a room at the Biltmore Hotel before leaving. Elizabeth reportedly informed him that she intended to return to Massachusetts the following day. However, she had to first meet her sister, who was traveling from Boston. This last statement was proven to be false. One of the last individuals to have seen her live would have been Red Manley. Her body. He was one among the initial suspects, as one might expect, even if his innocence was later established. He would eventually be checked into a mental hospital for nervous breakdowns with auditory hallucinations a few years later. The body of Elizabeth was discovered on January 15, 1947, in an odd posture in a wasteland. Blood was successfully drained and the deceased's body had been cleaned. It was divided in half and pallid. Her torso was surgically divided in half at the waist. With a bat, she broke her legs. Her uterus, spleen, heart, and intestines had all been torn out. She was dismembered. Her mouth was a genuine massacre. She had a terrible expression with her ears cut off, similar to the Glasgow smile. The guy was reportedly tortured in the most heinous ways while being restrained for at least 3 days. She passed away between the afternoon of January 14th and the morning of January 15th, according to the autopsy. She passed away from a combination of a brain bleed and shock brought on by the severe gashes on her face. Washington, D.C. received her fingerprints and used them to confirm her identification. Since there were police records of her underage drinking from 1943, when the press quickly arrived at the scene of the crime, a reporter from a renowned publication snapped several images of the occurrence. 9 days later, a man claiming to be the murderer sent a box carrying Elizabeth Short's belongings and papers to the editor of the nearby Los Angeles Examiner newspaper. Gasoline was utilized for covering everything so that no traceable fingerprints could be found by the police. With the help of ominous newspaper and magazine clippings, The person who wrote the letter said that he was only going to turn himself in if they sentenced him to 10 years in jail. Another possibility was Elizabeth's father. Asserting that he hadn't spoken to his daughter in 3 years, he strongly rejected the rumors. Even the identity of the body was withheld by him. Her mother had to deal with it once more. She was misled into thinking her daughter had won a beauty contest by a newspaper editor. On January 26, 1947, the newspaper received a further letter from the accused murderer. Since the body was discovered, the crime and the investigation have consistently appeared on the front page of major newspapers for 35 days. The investigations. The Los Angeles Police Department attentively looked into the situation. Although the operation engaged over 750 people and netted over 190 suspects, not any arrests were made. A $10,000 reward was offered by the city council for any information that resulted in an arrest in the case. Further than 50 men and women made up bogus confessions as a result, which increased confusion and caused further difficulties. As a result of other persons claiming to be the murderer, confusion about that disorder increased even more. Later, once there were over 500 statements, it became increasingly difficult to draw a conclusion. There was no conclusion to any inquiry. Homicide detective Steve Hodel concluded that his own father, George Hill Hodel, who was considered to be one of the main suspects at the time, had murdered Elizabeth Short after completing an in-depth inquiry into the case in 1999. This was due to how precisely the body had been dismembered when it was discovered. Only a qualified doctor or surgeon, according to many investigations, could have managed it. George Hodel, a well-known doctor, and Steve's father were among them. Only a few blocks separated his office from the lodging establishment where Elizabeth was last seen alive. There were many suspects in this manner. Some claim that her spirit still roams the hotel's corridors. The crime continues to this day to be one of the greatest mysteries that has never been resolved. That brings us to the end of this video. Thanks for being to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and tell us what you think about this video below in the comment section. Let's meet again with a more mysterious video.